Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Sacred Seasons. I'm your host, Iman, an early childhood specialist and a parenting educator and a fellow mom who is in the trenches with you. It is to no surprise that we are entering April, and you know what happens on April 1st, especially if you live in Western countries. There is a little something that's called April Fools. And I know different Muslims like to participate in terms of sharing a funny joke, a riddle, a prank, you name it. I thought it was the perfect timing to talk about one of the most important topics that I get asked about, which is how to support children who have a tendency to lie. So let's briefly talk about lying today, especially since it's something that a lot of us struggle with in the early years. Now, if we look at lying and we take a look at what developmental science shows us, is that it will completely shift how we think about lying. If you look at the research, approximately 30% of children between ages 2 to 3 have already lied. By ages 4 to 6, about 50% of them lie. And among children ages 7 to 12, roughly 80% report that they have lied. So if your child is lying, you're not raising a manipulator. You are raising a child with a developing brain. I'm going to make you feel a little better about your lying child if you have one right now. And that is, although it might sound counterintuitive, the first successful lie can actually be pegged as a developmental achievement because it marks the child's discovery that their mind and thinking are separate from their parents. It's a milestone. The same cognitive leap that allows a child to say no and claim their own sense of self is the same leap that allows them to conceive of a reality different from what you believe. This is like a version of peekaboo. You know how infants actually think you're gone once you hide under a blanket? It's kind of like the same thing, but it's happening in their brain. There is a research that was published in 2024 that confirmed that children's earliest deception is self-serving and typically emerges to cover up a transgression or to avoid punishment. In other words, the number one reason a child will lie simply because they fear you. Fear of getting in trouble, fear of your reaction, fear of shame, fear of embarrassment. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us that the most powerful anti-lying tool you have is not a consequence. And that is the first thing that I find a lot of parents don't do. Oh my goodness, my child lied, so I have to give them a consequence. When you do that, you are only reaffirming their reason to lie to you again. Instead, your goal is to create safety. Now, here's the part that's actually uncomfortable. And I say this as someone who worked with many families over the years. Before we look at why our children lie, we have to look at what our children are absorbing from us. Children do not learn lying in a vacuum. They absorb it from the environment. And I'm not talking about big, obvious lies. I'm talking about the subtle ones. The time that you told them you would be there in 5 minutes and then now it's an hour later. The time you promised them something and then you forgot about it. The time you said yes when you really meant no, or maybe. The time you told them the store was closed when it was not, just because you did not want to go. Every broken follow through, every half truth, every promise not kept, every emotion you said you were not having, like when you're visibly angry and the kids ask you, why are you angry? And you say, I'm not angry. Yeah, these are all lessons your child is absorbing about what it means to say things you do not mean. I know most of us parents don't do this maliciously, right? I'm saying it happens and children are watching every single moment. Their moral development is shaped more about what they observe, not what we say. So let us come back to things like April Fools, or as some Western countries call white lies. There's no colors to lies, by the way. A lie is a lie. If you are joining the April Fools bandwagon this year, where you're cracking jokes just regularly and planning pranks around your home that involves telling your child something that's not true, even in humor, even lovingly, even with a big laugh at the end, you are still sending a contradictory message to the brain that is still trying to figure out the rules around honesty. So a 4-year-old does not have the cognitive capacity to separate between lying as a prank is okay on a special day, or lying is a tool I can use when I want something. Those lines are not clear to a developing brain. What they see is that the adult I trust said something untrue. And everyone laughed and it was good. The Prophet ﷺ specifically warned us about this. He said, woe to the one who lies to make people laugh. Even in humor, honesty is not suspended in our Islam. So while the rest of the world is pranking, joking, sharing lies, this is actually an incredible teaching moment for your home. So what do we do? What are some practical steps we can take when we catch our child in a lie? The first thing, and the most critical thing, is not to put them in a position to lie in the first place. This is a preventative practice, especially while they're growing and developing. If you already know what happened, we don't need to ask them if they ate that extra cookie. Most likely they did. So don't ask the question you already know the answer to, because you're essentially setting a trap for them. And the trap is a child who's innocent and who loves sweets, for example, loves the cookie, but also loves to please you. So that's the trap and they don't know what to do. And a child who feels trapped will lie to escape it. It's not about their bad character. It's just that they want the best of both worlds. So you're not testing their honesty, you're testing their fear response, and fear always wins. If you do need to address it, here's the first thing I need you to do. Regulate yourself if you're upset. Lower your voice, slow your body down so you can co-regulate with them. Let them know that they are safe. That is the first sentence that should come out of your mouth. The single most effective phrase is something like, "You're safe," or if they're not in trouble, you can say, "You're not in trouble. Can you please tell me the truth about this?" But you have to follow through. You can't tell them they're not in trouble and then you put them in trouble the moment they say the truth. And if you fear that, you might as well tell them in the beginning that although they might not be in trouble, there could be a consequence to what happened. But right now, I just need you to tell me what happened. If you can use simpler terms, it's even better. So instead of saying, "Tell me the truth," or "Be honest," these are very big for children. Instead, you can be very concrete and say, "Tell me exactly what happened." That's it. Simple words will get the job done. Remember that a calm nervous system is an honest nervous system always. The research is clear on this. Children's earliest lies are driven by self-protective motives, specifically fear of punishment or not pleasing their parents. When you remove the threat, you remove the primary motivation to lie. After they are regulated, after the truth has come out, that is when you embed the knowledge. Absolutely not in the heat of the moment. And don't do it when they're still not regulated. Later, when they're calm, maybe at bedtime, when they feel safe and sound, that is when you could say something like, "We're Muslim and we always say exactly what happens." And that means we tell the truth. The Prophet ﷺ taught us that a believer doesn't lie. And if you think about it, lying doesn't feel good, but the truth always feels good, even when it's hard. And that's how you know if you said the truth or not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us so much so that he will always make sure that the truth comes out, because the truth, even when it's hard, sets everyone free. This is the angle we want to use, not shame, not fear of divine punishment, love and natural consequences rooted in the Islamic framework. As your children approach puberty, you can begin to introduce nuance. The Islamic tradition does acknowledge that there are moments when a form of verbal misdirection is permitted. Times like when we have to reconcile between people, a spouse speaking kindly to their partner, and times of war. When your child's old enough to hold that nuance, that's a time to have that conversation, to establish their Islamic understanding and education of how beautiful our religion is. But for now, in these early years, keep the message so simple. Just say, "Tell me exactly what happened when necessary." And make sure that you're always modeling telling the truth, even when it's hard, because we believers are truth tellers and we don't lie. That's what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. Telling the truth protects our hearts and it protects our home. And remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves as-sadiqeen, those who tell the truth. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. I'm hoping that none of you guys celebrate or joined April Fools in any shape, way, or form. And I hope that you become far more mindful of what you role model and pay attention to the invisible values that your child might be absorbing in your home environment. Quick reminder that Parenting by Divine Design, my year-long parenting partnership program, is officially open for enrollment. So if you want to join, all you have to do is click on the link below and I'll send you all the details about the program and how to register. Until next week, inshallah, take care. Assalamu alaikum.